Hey, welcome to Bring Your Worth. My name is Damon Brown. Let me go and connect with y'all on Amazon Live real quick too. Give me 1 second. Always technology, right? But at least we're able to connect. There it is. Three, two, one. All right, beautiful. Hello, everybody. If you're on Amazon, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Twitter, if you're on, I know some people are on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook anymore, but you can watch this on Facebook. I know I miss LinkedIn people. Welcome. My name is Damon Brown. This is a Bring Your Worst show. I'm coming to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. It's good to connect with y'all. Today it's the 250th episode. I am geeked, depending on how you count today's episode or Friday's episode, but we'll explain that in a second. But I've been coming to y'all for almost 2 years now. It was the first day of winter in 2020. If you get my newsletter over at joindamon.me, you can get it for free. I talked about a little bit of my newsletter that comes every Wednesday morning. But it's hard to believe. Like, my kids are older. I'm older. You see the grays coming in. And time is actually passing, which is fantastic. As I've talked about recently, it's an amazing time to recognize time. And particularly with obviously the pandemic, which has been the overshadowing thing over the last 2.5 years. One of the reasons why I started this show was to connect with y'all, even though I wasn't going to be on the road. But also like the economic stuff, the climate change stuff, which is super scary and really intense. And with all the things going on, it's easy to be caught in the moment and not realize that time is passing. If you have little kids that you're taking care of and suddenly they're becoming big kids, if you have a spouse and you realize that both of you and them are changing, if you have any type of element, even as far as the outside world, and I'm based here in Las Vegas, but as you can probably tell, my sinuses are bothering me with the allergies. That shift means that we're in a different part of the year and a different time. So thanks for riding with me over the last 2 years, as I hope I've helped keep y'all's sanity. Y'all have definitely helped me keep mine as far as being able to connect with folks. I've been a TED speaker 4 times. I regularly go to the conferences. I regularly connect with y'all in person, even with my books, including the most recent one, Career Remix. You see it up in the corner over here. It's an opportunity for me to really build with y'all and help y'all with your startups, whether it's a side hustle, whether you're becoming a solopreneur, whether you're doing a little thing on the side with your day job. My job, in my opinion, my philosophy is to build you up as much as possible. This show is part of that mission for me. So thanks for riding with me. I really appreciate it. If you're liking the content and you're new to the show, or you just are tuning in and all that stuff, but you haven't subscribed, feel free to subscribe over at YouTube. It's youtube.com/BrownDamon. The Bring Your Worst show, again, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time, for almost 2 years. So again, as I've kept you company, hopefully, as y'all have kept me company, hopefully I've kept you company. My words are mixed up today, so we're in for a wild ride. And again, my new book is Career Remix, Get the Gig You Want based on the skills you got. Thanks for all the love and support. It came out at the top of the year, I want to say January 18th, because we changed the launch date a couple times, supply issues. But thanks for all the support. The audiobook came out in March. I did it downtown in the booth, and it was fantastic. And it'll be a really good experience. Hopefully it helped y'all on your journey and some good insight that's coming from that. The 250th episode, I told you it was a tricky one. I think this live episode is the 250th, but it's kind of weird with YouTube and the timing of it. Obviously, with the recorded shows, live shows, this is a 50-second live show. So I've done a Wednesday live show, which is when I usually do the live show, about every other week, something like that. Because I was under the weather for a little bit. I was traveling, like I said, to TED and stuff like that. That's easier to count. The actual episodes, though, are tricky because for the pre-recorded ones, the edited ones that you see on Monday and you see on Fridays, they're obviously recorded way early, and then I edit them myself with my little hands. And so the timing of it when they come out is kind of different. I'm sure it's the same way in a traditional TV and stuff like that. Anyway, I did a 250th special episode. It's the 4 simple secrets to YouTube success. I don't have 1 million subscribers. I'm not making a ton of money of it, particularly from like things being monetized and stuff like that. But I am building a community, which is my intention. And for those of you that have showed up, those of you that are subscribing, I got to tell you, over the past month, like the amount of people that have tuned in, the amount of people subscribing, it's gone through the roof. And again, it's not like I'm on a major level, but way more engagement than usual. So for me to be coming up on the 250th episode and for me to be able to connect with y'all, and it's for me to regularly talk with you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and that to be part of my business coaching practice, because I coach non-traditional entrepreneurs like yourself, for that to be part of my books and that discussion, for that to be part of my journalism, for that to be part of the consulting, all the different things that I do. And for y'all to show up regularly, it means a lot. What I try to do is take the 4 biggest lessons that I've learned from the almost 2 years and 250 episodes of doing this show. And I've had my ups and downs and challenges and all that stuff. All the stuff that I've learned boiled down, or at least essential stuff, boiled down into 4 different tenets. I hope it's useful to you. It's going to be live on Friday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. If you click on it right now, you can actually go there and it will have a little notification, or it'll have a little bell that says notify me when it's ready. If you click on that, then you'll get a notification on your phone or over email. It usually does both, but you can choose that. It'll give you a notification, again, this Friday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, this video is premiering. So come through, and I will be in the live chat too. So feel free to say hi. Anyway, if you're interested in doing any type of long form content when it comes to, I guess the word I'm looking for is, or words I'm looking for, a regularly scheduled content where I come to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I come to y'all every week, right? If you're doing a podcast, and I know folks are doing podcasts, shout out to y'all. They're doing it every single day. The content I talk about in this 250th episode is for you. So if you want to look behind the scenes, learn more about it, figure out how you get on this path, go for it. One of the reasons why things have shot up recently too is because of the shorts. Y'all have been showing up, like literally tens of thousands of y'all have been coming through to watch the shorts I'm doing. If you missed the last couple episodes or you're not familiar, a YouTube short is similar to TikTok, where you have 60 seconds. It's really fast, hard hitting, and it's basic information. And some of my shorts feature like Jay-Z and Kevin Hart, who I featured on recent episodes, but it's actually the interview with them. And you're able to see where I got that source material as far as my coaching practice I talk about in the regular episodes, to the shorter version of even my more popular TED Talks. Taking those TED Talks and turning them into 30 seconds, 45 seconds. And then, of course, some of my TED Talks are like 15, 18 minutes. But you get an idea, you get the start of it, and then you see if you want to watch more of it. Y'all have been really showing up for that. What I learned recently, I thought you can only watch shorts on the phone, because if you're familiar with TikTok or Instagram Reels, but you can actually go ahead and watch it on your regular computer, your TV, wherever you get YouTube. I just learned this. Again, I'm always learning, or at least trying to. So, you know what I mean? It's always a process. Don't feel bad if you don't know everything. That's not the point. The point is to keep learning. If you click on youtube.com/BrownDamon, and depending on the platform you use it on your phone, obviously there'll be an area that says shorts. But if you're on your computer or even watching through your TV, we have a Roku device that actually has YouTube on it that's connected to our TV, our family TV. One of those things, there'll actually be an area that's called shorts or short programming. You can click on that and it'll go through them. I think there's about not 60 or 70 shorts on there, which at the end of the day, each short is like 30 seconds. It doesn't take that much time. I think you'll get a lot out of it. That's why I started doing it. All right. So the show itself, books for your next stage. There's been a theme, again, with transition into fall. It's not a level of, I guess it's a small level of nostalgia, but also, again, that idea of time and things move on, whether we're conscious of them or not, whether we show up or not. And I mean show up in the abstract way. I mean, you can show up to work every day, but are you showing up and giving your best? Are you showing up and taking care of the clients or the people you serve? In my case, it's clients. In my case, it's me taking care of you. Am I showing up the best way possible? when you're showing up regularly, when you're showing up in the best way possible, it's easier to navigate the transitions because it's easier to see that they're coming. There's stuff that's going on in my career right now that I saw coming. I was like, I can smell these transitions coming. And I can't wait to share them with you soon, right? But I can see these transitions coming. But that's part of that is because when you show up regularly, when you show up 100% as yourself, then you can hear the noises. You hear the noises of the stampede coming, down the hall. So I got 3 different metaphors. You put your ear to the ground and hear the stampede coming. You can smell change in the air and know it's about to rain. These little details only come about when you show up at your most. Not necessarily your best. I'm not always my best. I'm not even my best right now. But to show up at your most. I'm delivering as much as possible to you right now. 100% guaranteed. When you do that, you're able to see a lot more. And when you see a lot more, then you're able to connect and see those transitions as they happen. To paraphrase some therapists I've had, as well as some stuff that I've read in the past, life will tap you on the shoulder. And if you don't listen, then it might give a more aggressive tap. And then eventually, if you don't listen, it's going to hit you with a 2x4. I didn't come up with that saying, but I've heard it many, many times. Being fully present allows you to listen to that whisper, to feel that tap. These books, at least for me, have helped me feel that tap and feel that energy before things shifted. And so there's still stuff, frankly, that's going to knock you on your ass. That's just the way that life works. That's the way that careers work. I think I've had a very blessed career, and if I close my eyes, I can name at least a dozen times where I had the wind knocked out of me. That's kind of what happens when you get into the arena. The main thing that we want to do is to navigate that so that when we do get knocked down, we can rise stronger. Shout out to Brene. And we also can anticipate things so that maybe the impact won't be as much. You might be going through your own transitions. I have 2 little kids. They're going to be going to middle school soon. So my partner and I are seeing their transitions. So in some ways, even if you have older folks that you take care of, whatever, sometimes with life, you're able to see those transitions and it makes it a lot easier. I can point to my sons and be like, wow, you guys are taller this year than last year. Oh, those clothes don't fit anymore. How did that happen? I have some type of measurement. Sometimes that could be like a cheat code, and sometimes we still don't get the message. These books will help you understand when the transitions are coming, what to do when you're going through the transitions, and how to embrace the next step. This list could have been twice as long, so you might have some favorite books about transitions. These are mine. All right, the first one I recommend is The Alchemist by Paulo Coehlo. I love this book. I have it in 3, maybe 4 different formats. So you remember, if you're around my age, I'm middle age. So if you're around my age and you would go to the store, you actually would go to the store to get music, and then you'd love a particular thing and you'd have it on tape, but then you might have a CD player at school. I used to have a CD player at school back when they had the tower computers. And it's like, oh, I need a CD of that. I'm thinking of Nas's Illmatic offhand. I have about 6 copies of that. I'm thinking of, shout out to I'm getting my sides mixed up. Shout out to Miles Davis back there. I think about Kind of Blue. And I have like 4 copies of that. In fact, I used to have it on vinyl before I started a family. And then I knew they would tear up my record player. But that's another point. What I'm saying is that this is one of those books. It's a very simple book, super short. I want to say the audiobook is no more than 2 hours. The physical book, which of course I don't have right now, but the physical book is super small. In fact, it's about the size of Bring Your Worth, which is the name of this program. The book but that was part of the energy that actually inspired this book, is to have something short and sweet that you could carry along with you. The Alchemist, in short, is about a guy that wants to, right? Shout out, right? The Alchemist is that book. And so The Alchemist is simply a book about a little boy, not even little boy, I'd say like a teenager / young man. He's very young, who is a sheep herder. And he gets the opportunity of a lifetime but that requires him letting go of the life that he was accustomed to. And he goes on this wild adventure. And then he ends up coming back, but he comes back quite literally in a different form. What I love about The Alchemist is every time I read it or listen to it, I have the audiobook right here. The audiobook is actually done by Jeremy Irons, the famous British actor. It is fantastic. So if you like audiobooks, this is the one to get out of this whole list. And every time I listen to it or read it, I get something else out of it. In fact, I've quoted it in Bring Your Worth. I think I quoted it as well as in Career Remix, my latest book. But every time I read it, there's another part to the parable that I get. Again, it's fiction. What I'm getting from it right now, which is why I wanted to include it, is that you have to be willing to let go of your past to figure out where you're going to go next. But there is going to be a gap there. And that main gap, not to be too on the nose, is fear. That's the main gap. You have to traverse that gap. I talk about that a lot in Career Remix, as far as us remix our career, going in a different place, going in a different direction. But with all that said, there's a loss there. In any transition, there's a loss. Even if you became a proverbial millionaire right now, or a literal millionaire, but I'm talking about proverbially, but if you became a millionaire right now, and assuming you're not a millionaire right now, or assuming you're not even a 100,000aire right now, but you suddenly became a millionaire, or even a billionaire of the Jeff Bezos level or Mackenzie Scott or what have you, there's a loss in that because you're used to a certain lifestyle. There's certain really cheap foods that I absolutely adore, right? But if I became a billionaire, then suddenly there's going to be different expectations. And maybe in the neighborhood I might end up moving to with my family or whatever, those foods might not be available. I might not have the same relationship with family members or friends because we're not in the same place. And so I talk about that in an upcoming episode about how to deal with financial windfalls and how to deal with financial droughts, which both of those things happen. Again, if you go to youtube.com/BrownDamon, one of those, I think on the drought, is going to be the Friday after next, which I believe is the 14th. So 14th October, I talk about how to get through a drought when you're independent. I've been a freelancer for decades now. When you're an independent freelancer, consultant, running your own business, how do you get through that drought? But that's one of the things I talk about, is that with those extremes of money, then your social circle might be the same, but you might have changed. There's a loss in that. My whole point is that as we go through our transitions, whether good or bad, if you want to label them like that, it doesn't matter because you're still going through that transition. And for me right now, The Alchemist is about letting go and embracing that fear of the unknown. And that's what's speaking to me right now. I've had this book for, I want to say like 2 decades. I have like 5 copies of it. I listen to it or read it, say every other year. And I get something else out of it every single time. That's why I have a hard time encapsulating what it's about. It's an amazing parable and fantastic. Shout out to Paulo. Yeah, great stuff. A good episode of the Bring Your Worth show to check out as a companion to this is When Should I Quit Something? And it's actually from Jerry Seinfeld talking to Oprah. And that's actually, I recently turned this into a very short. So you're not going to get the whole gist from the short, but you might see it on the shorts calendar. It's gotten really popular. Thousands of y'all have viewed it, which is crazy. But it's all based on this classic is an older episode of the Bring Your Worth show. And it's about Jerry Seinfeld, of course, from the Seinfeld show, and why he decided to quit when it was the #1 show. I think it was the #1 English-speaking show in the world. And he's like, yep, I'm done. And he said bye to NBC. He explains why in this video. Like, it's one of my favorites, and it's one of y'all's favorites too, based on the feedback and the views. I think it fits really well as far as letting things go and going into your next transition. The next one, favorite of mine, The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday and Stefan Hanselman. Shout out to y'all. Fantastic book. I will try to make it as simple as possible. Stoic philosophy comes down, at least the most popular Stoic philosophy, comes down to 3 or 4 individuals. Holiday and Hanselman have taken arguably the best from these individuals and turned them into 366, as in a whole year plus 1 day, I think, for a leap year, however that works. I think it's 366. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. And taking it into really simple quotes and then breaking down those quotes. It's fantastic. And I prefer the audiobook over the physical book. The audiobook has kept me warm for many years. I got into the Daily Stoic when I first became a dad, and I'm the primary caregiver. So my partner, my wife went back to work, and then here I am, with this beautiful baby boy and not knowing what the hell to do. And then I was also doing my first startup, and I was also writing as a journalist. And I think I was coming out with books at the time too. It was a mess. I'm going to be real about it. This kept me grounded. It works well over the course of a year. That wasn't enough for me. So I think within the first year, and actually of my child's life, he just turned 9 over the summer. So that gives you how long ago this was. I think over the course of that first year, it's 366 or whatever. I think I listened to the whole thing like twice. So some days where, if you don't know that story, I did my first startup called So Quotable at the same time that my wife went back to work. And I wake up at 3:15 in the morning. My son would wake up at 6 a.m. So that gave me, what would that be, 2 hours and 45 minutes to take care of business. And that was my work day. And then the rest of the day was, of course, with little man. My wife would come home. We'd have dinner, put him to sleep. We have a little bit of time to ourselves. I might be able to squeeze in just a little bit of work that evening. And then the same cycle would happen again. I did that for 2 years, including with the second startup I started called Cuddler, which became really popular and really was where I made my bones as an entrepreneur. And part of the reason why you're listening to this now is part of that whole wave that started when we ended up getting Cuddler acquired after we hit 250,000 users. But I talk about that in The Bites as Entrepreneur, which I made a bestseller. And I talk about the aftermath of that. It took me like 8 books. I've done eight books in the past 6 years. It took me 8 books to finally get to that inside energy and what that process was like in Career Remix. I have a whole chapter talking about selling the startup and that loss that came with it. Because it was a loss because that was part of my identity. Daily Stoic helped me get through that. Fantastic book. I recommend the audiobook of this as well. All the links, except for one of them, which I'll share with you, are audiobooks because they are, the actors on here. I've done several audiobooks myself. Again, most recently Career Remix. Hats off to y'all. Like the caliber is just fantastic. Reverse clause, the biggest Stoic secret. I talk about my favorite chapter, which is in the Daily Stoic, about the reverse clause. I won't even get into it now. The video is super short. I want to say this is one of my shortest videos from the Bring Worth show. I want to say it's like 5, maybe 6 minutes long. Just watch it and you'll get insight from it. I think about this clause, especially I had some rough moments earlier today. I was like, I need this clause. So I think about this clause almost every damn day. So this is serious. This is part of my toolbox. Out of the 366 that they talk about, this is the one for me. So I had to do an episode about it. There's another classic episode. I want to say classic as in old. Like I said, I don't want to pretend like it's a great episode, but it is older. And I want to say it came out about 1.5 years ago. It's one of my first episodes. So check it out. And I hope it gets you to where you need to be. Again, it's the Bring Your Worth show, coming to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. If you like what you're hearing, feel free to subscribe. It's free. And already got some episodes lined up well beyond this 250th episode. So you can go ahead and click the notification button. I think it's notification. I want to say there's a little bell on there. You can click on there and YouTube will say, do you want us to touch base with you when the episode's premiering? Click on that and then you'll be there. And I'll be in the chat too during the premieres. I always forget to say that. So it's similar to this, except it'll be a recording of me. And that sounds like fun. All right. No Mud, No Lotus by Thich Nhat. He actually passed away, I want to say in April, and Buddhist monk. He's probably in his 90s, probably approaching 100. Um, he's so classic. Martin Luther King actually got inspired by him and met up with him when he was in the United States, because I think he was based in Tibet. When he came to the United States, and he chatted with Thich Hahn about how he could actually build up the civil rights movement. So this, we lost a legend this year. This is his most popular, and for my money, quite literally, his best book. It's really simple. The lotus plant is considered beautiful, but for it to grow, it needs to come out of mud. There's something in the enzymes or whatever. I'm no scientist, but there's something in the enzymes or whatever of the mud that allow the lotus to grow and be beautiful. And if you're familiar with Buddhist philosophy, if you're familiar with yoga, if you meditate like I do, as far as the more traditional, again, Buddhist style meditation, for lack of a better term, then when you sit cross-legged and you're posing, that's called the lotus pose. I'm assuming because you grow out like a lotus, right? Because the lotus has a beautiful, beautiful foliage that comes out and curves up, almost like Neptune's scepter, right, with the fork. It's beautiful, but it has to come from mud. If there's no mud, there's no lotus. Simple as that, right? One of the best titles I've ever heard of a book. What he's saying, though, and once he gets to the book, you gotta see where it's going. If there's no shit, then there's no sunshine. That's kind of the way it works. No rain, no rainbow. You literally cannot spell rainbow without rain. He talks about it. And there's another book. Again, I got it around the same time, the same era a few years ago. Tiny book. I have it somewhere on my shelf, or it's actually my partner's copy that I have. So maybe she has it over there. But really tiny book, really simple. You can read it in the afternoon. I think the first time I read it, let me take that back. I thought I was going to read it in the afternoon and ended up taking a lot longer because I wanted to absorb every single piece of it. Fantastic book. Fantastic book. I don't think there's an audiobook available for it. I couldn't find it, but the physical book is fantastic. Actually quoted quite a bit in Build From Now. As soon as I can find Build From Now. Oh, there it is. And Build From Now to Know Your Power, See Your Abundance, and Nourish the World, my book from a couple years ago. But I talk about it a lot in there. So if you're familiar with the book, you know it's in there. And I think I might quote it very briefly in my latest career remix. But if you're familiar with my work, or if you read my books, you probably have seen his name mentioned. This is the source. And a lot of stuff I quote is from this one book. This tiny book has a ridiculous amount of gems. When he passed away, and I'm doing a special episode about it, it was my favorite quote. Again, similar to the reverse clause I talk about with the Daily Stoic. This is my favorite quote from him. And I believe it is from No Mud, No Lotus, because he has some great interviews too. If you check online, or if you read them, I think most of them are in English, so you should be able to enjoy them if English is your language. But fantastic quote. I think that you'll enjoy the episode if you're curious about him at all. Last one, my classic. Love it, love it, love it. Uncomfortable, or that's not uncomfortable. Wow, I'm getting more comfortable with mistakes. Comfortable with uncertainty. It's not uncomfortable. Pema Chodron does not tell you to get uncomfortable. What she's telling you is to get comfortable with uncertainty. You can tell it's been a busy week for me. My apologies. But hey, like I said, I'm not at my best, but I am showing up for y'all. And that's what matters. That's how you get to 250 episodes, by showing up however you are. Comfortable with Uncertainty, one of my favorite books. I had this book when I was in New Orleans when Hurricane Katrina hit. I talk about it extensively. Yeah, I guess it's a Build From Now day. I talk about it extensively, or quite a bit, I should say, not extensively, but quite a bit, in Build From Now. It's actually the opening chapter. So if you're interested in my experience with that, it took me like 15 years to be able to write about it. But that's why Build From Now is such an important book, personally, for me. But one of the few things I was able to take with me was a copy of Comfortable with Uncertainty. It was dog-eared. I think I just got into it that a year or two before that. And it's this idea of accepting that things accepting that things are unstable, accepting that there's no such thing as security, and accepting that you're going to be okay. I was thinking about this saying, and I know I'm going to screw it up, but it's important to share it. Where I believe it was a monk that said, the bad news is that you've fallen off a cliff and you're always going to be falling. The good news is that there's no bottom. In other words, if you can decipher what the monk was trying to say, yes, things are chaotic. Yes, you're always going to be in motion. And yes, you're always going to be uncertain. But you can take comfort in that things are always going to be evolving. Barring a climate change disaster, winter is going to begin in about 3 months. And then spring is going to begin after that. And summer is going to begin after that. Barring the end of civilization, we're still going to make love. We're still going to fall in love. We're still going to drink and be merry. We're still going to be at war. Those things never change. That's part of humanity. And as long as we're here on Earth, that's what we're rocking with. The chaos that comes with that is part of the bargain. So if you get comfortable and you not knowing what's going to happen next, then that actually gives you the freedom to have security. Fantastic book. Her book, I want to say it's about 50 chapters, which sounds crazy, but it's another book, super small, and each chapter is about 2 to 6 pages, I want to say. And it's fantastic. And at that period of time when I was having a rough time, I would just flip to a random page. This is one of those books. And then it says whatever you need to hear at that moment. Pema is fantastic. I didn't give the background. She's another Buddhist monk, seeing a pattern here, another Buddhist monk. And I love her work, Yep, acceptance, no good or bad. It's our thoughts about it. Exactly. So how we frame the conversation around it, how we build a narrative around it. That's what it means. She's excellent at not necessarily changing our framework about it. There's plenty of books about that. But about her helping us recognize that we do have a framework about it. And I think as a business coach, I think that's almost more important, because you could talk to people and they were like, well, look at the bright side. Look at the bright side. Like, maybe you don't want to look at the bright side. Maybe you don't. But what I think is even more powerful is to say, recognize that you're looking at the dark side of it. And recognize this is part of the story that you're telling yourself. Recognize that this is part of the narrative that you believe right now. That's what you have control over. Sometimes shitty situations are shitty situations. Like there's no, you know what I mean? Especially if you're an adult, you've been through enough stuff where there's certain things where it's like, there is no quote unquote bright side of this. It just sucks. But as time moves on, back to the time idea, then you can start to change the narrative of it and start to get that perspective. Time gives perspective. Her book is fantastic as far as giving perspective and being like, no, I'm not going to tell you to cheer up, but I will tell you that the framework that you have right now is only letting these particular things in. So what do you have control over? The situation or the framework? I like having control of things. Situation, I might not be able to control that. Usually can't, right? Life sometimes happens to you. But the framework, though, that can slowly evolve. And it's not sunshine up your behind type of book. It's more like, yeah, life sucks sometimes. What do you have control over to make life better? And are you willing to build that patience and acceptance that life isn't going to be better right now? It might be better later, but you have to be in the right framework, a better framework, I should say, to actually let in whatever better stuff comes. Because if you're stuck at what happened, then you're not actually going to build. Well, you're not actually going to build from now. Sorry. Suddenly I'm quoting myself. All right. Good companion. It is my most popular episode of the 250 episodes of the Bring Your Worth show. I have my first TED Talk that has a bunch of views. Thank you for all the love and support. Even like, oh my gosh. Yeah, like I said, my son is 9, so I did TED Talk when he was a baby. So 8-year-old TED Talk. Y'all are still loving it. Thank you so much. That means a lot. I was nervous as heck up there. But that short little TED Talk really showed me the way as far as how I can connect with y'all. And I learned a lot from it. So thank you for all the love. Aside from that TED Talk, this is by far the most popular episode of the Bring Your Worth show. So shout out to Brene and shout out to all y'all that have watched it. How can I accept others for who they are? I'm a parent. I'm a partner. I'm a a child, so I have parents. Luckily, all my parents are still around, so love y'all. And being like, so every day we read this chapter. Every day we play this song. Every day we do this dance, as far as accepting other people or not accepting other people. Sometimes it's as black and white as that, but we have that dance. Brené's quote right here talks about that dance. And this is one of the reasons why I absolutely love her work. Short episode. I want to say it's about 7 minutes long. I bring up that it's my most popular episode, not just to celebrate the anniversary of this, the 250 episodes, but also to show that this is something that all of us are struggling with. It's not the most popular episode because, Brene is awesome, but it's not because Brene is great or that I'm great. It's because this is something that we're all dealing with. We deal with it every single day, particularly if we have a lot of interpersonal relationships, as I do. So I have, the parents, quote unquote, above me. I have the kids that are quote unquote below me. I have a partner that's beside me. I have a lot of business partnerships. I co-founded startups. I'm a consultant. I'm working with other businesses. And so we're partnering in a way. You deal with this every single day. I don't care if it's a business context or a personal context. I think this applies to both of them. Please check out the episode if you haven't already. It falls right in line as far as with transition and dealing with the different stuff. All right. So from the top, I recommend, sorry, I can't see today. The Alchemist. It's the 25th anniversary edition that I'm recommending. I think it's up to 30 years old now. So yeah, it's like a little human. The Alchemist by Paulo Coehlo. The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday and Stefan Hanselman. No Mud, No Lotus by Nhat Hahn. And that's Comfortable, Not Uncomfortable with Uncertainty by Pema Chodron. I hope it gets you through your transition. Thanks for celebrating with me for this 250th-ish episode. Be sure and check out the episode coming this Friday too, which talks about the things that I've learned over the past year and a half, 2 years with the 250 episodes, and hopefully give some of that game to y'all. And again, the new book is Career Remix. So I got like a Barnes and Noble over here. I got Career Remix. Get the gig you want based on skills you've got. Thanks for all the love and support. And you can watch the Bring Your Worth show for another 250 episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you can subscribe for free. Until next time, remember that you can always bring your worth. You can always build from now. Take care.